What's up, everybody? This is Zaris, and I am bringing you the CSL Weekly video. This is the third installment, and last week we had some rivals facing off. First off was the University of Maryland schools playing each other. We had Baltimore County facing off against their subway, metro, maybe, rivals, College Park. And actually this was a pretty important match for Baltimore County especially, because they were currently, I think, third or fourth in the division, so a win would have kept them undefeated and possibly vaulted them ahead of College Park in the standings. But unfortunately for Baltimore County, they did not end up winning. And actually the loss of Baltimore County set them outside of the playoffs. So now they're going to have a more difficult time in the second half of the season to come up with a lot of wins and get themselves back into the playoffs. And actually, now with the win, College Park actually has the second highest win rate so far in the CSL. I think they're sitting at 22-3. They only have 3 set losses, which is actually pretty impressive. Puts them up with Harvey Mudd, Florida, and Georgia Tech, I believe, as the other 3 schools who basically have the best win rates in the CSL. Another rival match that took place last weekend was, of course, the famous rivalry Duke versus UNC. And actually, Duke ended up beating UNC, so props to Duke for that, although Duke still is sitting outside of the playoffs right now. And the second half is going to be pretty crucial for them if they want to have any sort of hope of getting to the finals like they did last season. The other rivalry that took place, of course, was UCLA versus USC. The Trojans beat the Bruins in football the week before, but this week, not so lucky for the Trojans as UCLA took revenge on them, beating USC with a 3-1 score, I believe it was. Although UCLA, again, is fighting an uphill battle in terms of making the playoffs, it's going to be pretty tough for them. But at least the moral victory is going to be there for them as they beat their super crazy rivals, USC. UCSD kept their playoff hopes alive by beating the second or third place team in their division, MIT, so they gave MIT their first loss of the season. UCSD took the victory with a 3-1 score, with actually KVZ from UCSD, their top player, basically being the only loss. So a little bit of a surprise there, but UCSD did manage to take home the win. Although, again, UCSD is still outside of the playoffs, so they're going to have their work cut out for them in the second half of the season if they plan on making the playoffs. In terms of my talking points, I did say that I would be taking some questions from people in terms of talking points and such. So we do see Oberlin, which is a team that was last place in the CSL last year in Brood War, now is dominating in StarCraft 2. They are currently undefeated, and they have a player who is currently at like 9-0 or 10-0 or something, pretty much balling out of control. So big props to Oberlin for sort of turning it around and becoming one of the top teams right now in the CSL. So it's always good to see sort of new teams coming in to replace some of the old teams like Duke and apparently UCSD that are not doing as well as they did in Brood War. Another thing, we have some updates to the CSL website actually. Thank you to Yenta and Ethereal Death from Team Liquid, who actually finished coding a project that basically integrates Battle.net profiles on the CSL website. So you can actually check out a player's profile and you can see how many points they have, you can see their record, their win-loss ratio, everything like that. You can check out the team's profile and see all of the rankings of their players. So it's actually a really interesting feature. You should definitely go check out, your favorite teams or your school and see what kind of the skill level is like at those schools. And we do have a couple pretty interesting schools to note. Berkeley and Waterloo stood out most to me when I was checking out some of the teams and players. Berkeley right now has 15 people, which ties them with Waterloo, I think, as the school with the most players over 2,000 points. Both schools also have 2 players each with over 3,000 points. So that's actually really impressive, the amount of really strong players that those two schools have. And that really comes into play in the playoffs, which the format becomes larger. For right now, during the regular season, there are only 3 one-on-one matches and a 2-on-2 match. However, in the playoffs, like last season and the season before that, the later rounds of the playoffs are going to see an expanded format. So it's not going to be as important to have one superstar player, in the case of like Harvey Mudd, for example, which has QXC, who arguably is one of the top players. But aside from QXC, they don't really have anybody that's particularly strong. I think Harvey Mudd actually only has 2 players who are over 2,000 points, and one of them is QXC. So again, in the later rounds of the playoffs, it's more important to have a lot of strong players like Berkeley and Waterloo, among other teams, have. Of course, I am not getting every single team, so don't kill me if I didn't mention your team. Now, on to some sad news. We do have 2 teams who did withdraw from the CSL. So, shame, shame, shame. Lawrence University and Utah Valley University are no longer participating in the CSL due to complete apathy and lameness, basically. So we don't want to see any more teams withdrawing. And I'm not sure if we will be replacing those teams at this juncture, since we are practically halfway through the season. It's a little bit late to replace with new teams, so it's kind of sad to see those teams go, unfortunately. Another sort of interesting match that happened last week. Not too many upsets went down, aside from the big rivalry matches, but we did see Berkeley and University of Michigan, which are 2 really strong teams, go duke it out all the way to the ace match, in which Berkeley took it home with a 3-2 score. Kang Wook from Berkeley, who actually participated in the last CSL Turkey Drop King of the Hill with a really impressive record in that event, he took home the ace match. He seems to be a really incredibly strong player for Berkeley. I think he's about 3,200 points right now. And that basically wraps it up for the news. Definitely go check out the new features on the website, integrated BattleNet profiles and such. And also, I would like to announce our next event, which is going to be the Chimney Drop King of the Hill, which is probably going to take place next Friday, I'd say, sort of to tide you guys over for the couple weeks of holiday break in which there is no CSL matches. So, of course, we will be bringing you some awesome events, another King of the Hill, so make sure you sign up and participate in that. Of course, we're going to try to get prizes out for as many events as possible. Once again, go check us out at cstarleague.com. Go become a fan on Facebook, facebook.com/Collegiate Star League, I believe, or just search for Collegiate Star League. And that is pretty much it for this week, and thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you'll check out our website and keep it up with the CSL, and thank you guys for watching the videos. And I'm done for now, so this is Zeris, and I am signing out.